Okay, hello everyone. Today is Wednesday, May the 3rd, and we are continuing in our study of A Course in Miracles. We are still in chapter 2, the separation and the atonement. We are in section 8, which is the meaning of the last judgment. And we're going to be examining paragraph 3 today. And Harriet, what did you say where we were in the manual for teachers again? Can you remember?
How is healing accomplished?
Ooh.
And the first section of that is called Perceived Purpose of Sickness.
Perceived purpose of sickness, right?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. What a day, what a day, what a day.
Yeah.
Some good stuff. So let's just sit back for a moment and center ourselves. Place your feet flat on the floor. Have your spine erect or as erect as possible. And imagine that through our feet, our roots that are connecting us to the infinite, to the divine. Through that connection, we are one and whole and complete. And with that wholeness, we are so assured of its truth that we have no doubts. All fears are vanquished. All power is restored in each and every receptacle of our thoughts. And as we hold on to this assurance, we fill ourselves with gratitude. We feel ourselves knowing and that the blessedness of this wholeness is what our results are. We see everything as a blessing. Things that we once thought were bad or negative or horrible. Now we see the value of those as either as lessons or new opportunities even, or places where we can respond and allow the wholeness of the infinite and the divine to fulfill its needs. And as we hold on to that thought, we allow ourselves to release into infinity blessings, goodness, mercy, grace, love, power, presence. We put that thought into each and every living thing on this planet. We are whole with all living things. And with that, we say, and so it is. Okay, do you want to begin?
Yes, I can.
Hello?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear
Can you
you.
hear me?
You
We
were
have bad
coming, you were
connection.
really low.
Oh. Okay. But anyway, as has been stated, hello, everybody. As has been stated, we are coming to the end of chapter 2. We're in section 8. And we're in paragraph, we're going to be looking at paragraph number 3 today. The last judgment is generally thought of as a procedure undertaken by God. Actually, it will be undertaken by my brothers with my help. It is a final healing rather than a meting out of punishment, however much you may think that punishment is deserved. Punishment is a concept totally opposed to right-mindedness And the aim of the last judgment is to restore right-mindedness to you. The last judgment might be called, let me start that again. The last judgment might be called a process of right evaluation. It simply means that everyone will finally come to understand what is worthy and what is not. After this, the ability to choose can be directed rationally. Until this distinction is made, however, the vacillations between free and imprisoned will cannot but continue. Wow. The last judgment is generally thought of as a procedure undertaken by God. So is that saying that there's no such thing as the last judgment?
I think it's, hold on a second. Let me put this on pause for a second. I gotta see what's going on with Wise. Hold on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me make sure everything is all right.
Okay.
Wazian, everything okay? You okay? Okay. Uh-huh. Oh, I don't think
Hmm?
I don't think I paused the I think I paused the share instead of pausing the record. I'm sorry.
No, because I still see the thing on my screen.
Okay. No, she's not here yet. She'll be here in a minute. To answer your question, yeah, 3 minutes. You were about 30 minutes. The last judgment is generally thought of as a procedure undertaken by God. I think that I think that that's what that is saying, is that, humanity has seen, like daddy coming home and mama said, I'm gonna, you're gonna be in trouble when daddy get home.
Right. Okay.
I think that that's what this is trying to say. And I think that as we are coming out of that concept of reward and punishment, that we have to, it's going to be either or, I think this is, letting us know that, within the second line, which is really important, is that it's not only going to be, the responsibility is not going to only be given to God. It's going to be given to the Christ. And all of us, who are a part of the Christ, is going to, that's whose responsibility it's going to be. So it's not going to be somebody else's responsibility to come down here and whip us into shape and get us right.
It's up to us to do it ourselves.
Yeah, and isn't that only fair?
Yeah.
Because we are renewing our minds. We're the ones that are renewing our minds, and when our minds are when our perceptions are completely right-minded, we'll be able to really see and know, that the truth is what the truth is. And the truth is that there's only love. Oh, hold on a second again. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
I got a lot of stuff happening at my house. Hold on a second. Hold on one more time. Let's see. Yeah, so that's what that means to me. Because one of the things that we have been learning about the Last Judgment is that it's not all about endings. It's really about putting things into its proper perspective.
And now that I read that again, it's a message saying that not only is it is the responsibility of all of us, because we are all one in the Christ. Are you with us?
Yeah, I was waiting on you.
Oh, I just said, when I reread it again, it's like, it's the responsibility of everyone, and seeing everyone as a unit. We are all one. So therefore, the God in us is who is responsible for the Last Judgment.
Yeah, and it's not, and because we're not separate.
Exactly.
Because we're not separate, so it's not.
That's what I was trying to say in a roundabout way.
That's what you said. I mean, because we're really not separate. We are all a part of the same,
one. Yeah.
all a part of the whole. And as each one of our perceptions change and become more in alignment with love, then that's when the shift is, when I say shift, I mean like the mega shift. Each one of us is growing and changing and shifting all the time. But eventually it's going to come to this part where, it's all going to have, it has already, it's complete. It has already happened.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess my question is kind of answered in the second sentence. Actually, it will be undertaken by my brothers with my help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's up to all of us working in harmony, or working as a unit, working together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and letting it come to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and allowing it to happen. And we are further along than what we think. It's easy to see something negative, especially if all we hear is negative reports, or if we are have had about a sickness, or some been broke for a time, or something, something some type of dis-ease. It's easy to think that we are individual and separated and all alone.
Exactly. And I find it interesting, because in the last, I would say, day or two, I have read in my readings and stuff, I have seen that we should look on everything as a positive, no matter what the situation is. It's all a learning experience that we're supposed to use and turn it into a positive in some way or another.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I came across something, and I forget now where it was, but I was trolling the internet, and it just listed a whole bunch of things that we would consider as negative. And it pointed out how each one of those negatives are positives in their own way.
Right. I got
Huh?
a lot. Yeah, it's just a lot going on in my house.
Oh.
Yeah, and we have so much, so excuse me, we have so much to I guess grow into, because once we have gotten past this point of wholeness, just that as an understanding by itself. Because I think that, and it might be some people, groups that have been raised understanding that we are whole, but here in America, because individuality is so important, that whole concept of freedom simply means that we get to be whoever we want to be, or whatever we want to be, and that we think that that's what all, not so much as what, but all what freedom is. But I think that once we understand that freedom as a value, it allows truth to be the guide. So so we understand that, yeah, I have a lot of freedom, but freedom and responsibility and privilege and all of those things kind of melds together.
Exactly.
So I can't be free and irresponsible at the same time.
So true. So true.
And the more I am in alignment with other humans, with our fellow humans, we have this bond, it becomes really strong. And I think that that's really what we see, what we see in today. And I think that that's why it looks like negativity is on the rise, but in actuality, positivity is really on the rise. We are much more positive than we have been, say, 18 centuries ago, where the warlords get together and go slaughter each other so that, so that they can be in control,
Exactly. And when you look at history and look back at all of the conflicts, and when I say conflicts, I mean inner turmoil among peoples, among nations. Today it is, we might think it's bad, but I don't think it's as bad as it has been in the past, is what I'm trying to say, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're still doing pretty much some of the same old things. There's still people that's trying to take power.
Also,
there's still somebody that wants to control. But all in all, we have more people that are looking for truth and not just listening to somebody else's truth, but we are actually
our own truth.
yes, and living living that truth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, it might seem things are you know, topsy-turvy nowadays, but I think if we really look back at history, it's no worse now than it was, say, 100, maybe 1,000 or more years ago, because today, if something happens in Newport News, take for example the shooting at Rich Neck Elementary School, that traveled around the world almost instantaneously.
Mm-hmm.
Going back, say, 100 years, 200 years, if something happened here in Newport News today, it'll be another 2 weeks or maybe a month or more before it reaches the people in Philadelphia or New York, depending on what method they use to transmit that, you know, the news of what has happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and also human nature being what it is, they tend to focus more on the sensational negatives than they do on the positive things that are going on that make that show that life is good and life can be good and life is you know, is good, I guess. And I'm just rattling.
No, but I do know what you're saying, because once we get past that point of only looking for sensationalism, because I mean,
Right.
you know, you do have negative sensationalism, but we have positive sensationalism too. You know,
Exactly.
it's always the sensational that is, you know, that is getting the most attention.
But the sad thing is the positive sensational, I mean, it gets attention, but I don't think it gets as the kind of attention that the negative sensational things get.
Yeah, because you know, and I think that, and I really think that that's just because it's easier to produce a you know, the negative, you know, somebody, the school shooting, you know,
Right.
as opposed to, you know, that the school, built had a fantastic, I don't know, play, so that might be considered local, but it might be a small sensation locally, but it won't match something else. It won't match the negative,
Right.
And it would be nice if it was vice versa. If the
Yes.
small sensation was the thing. I think that the more people we have, the more we have to remind ourselves that we are, that we are family, that we all are one. And I think we often forget that. I mean, COVID showed us that. COVID, what started in China, and within 3 months, it was worldwide.
That's the net.
So, when we understand that, what happens to me happens to you,
Exactly.
we are all affected by it.
Exactly. Just think about your body. If you have, say, a headache, you are not in the mood to do anything with any other parts of your body.
Right. Lay it down.
You know?
Lay it down.
So, I mean, that's what you just said, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's see, number 3. It is a final healing rather than a meting out of punishment. However, you may think that punishment is deserved. And that right there, I think, is a very, very powerful statement.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because it's just like in, well, y'all, you know how I love TikTok. But anyway, you get on certain things on TikTok, you come, you can, hang out with the whoever it is that you want to hang out with. But
Right.
lately I've been hanging out with the animals, right? The funny animals. And, I just like it when the dog has, the parent comes in with the parent, I guess the owner. Yeah, but the pet owner. They come in and they say, "What have you done?" And the usually it's a dog. Cats, every now and then you can see a cat that they flick their tail or something like that. But usually the dogs, they look so ashamed. And
I know.
they look so ashamed, and you can really say, you can really tell that, oh wow, if I had only thought that I would not have eaten through all of the pillows like this.
Mm-hmm. They give you that, oh, please have pity on me, look.
Yes, they have this expression on their faces. And I think that we all feel that when we have made a mistake, a misstep, or we have not, we have erred and not hit the target properly, we feel bad about that.
Right.
And that automatically makes us it. And because, the scale is like this, it's all balanced, but one side has positive and the other side has negative. And any feeling that goes to the negative is going to be met out as, in that negative sense. So, you're going to think about punishment. Oh no, I did all of this bad. I tore up the house. I jumped up on the kitchen counter. I, got the refrigerator open. I pulled out all of the stuff. And yeah, I can't put it back. I can't fix it. There's nothing I can do about it. It was fun while it happened, but wow, I am sorry. So when we're going through that, we feel that we deserve, we owe something back because we can't replace it.
Right. But you know what? You just reminded me of something, and I think this was on TikTok too. The pet owner went in a drawer and took out a nibble for the dog, and he put it on the surface. It was a low table, like a coffee table, something like that. Put it there for the dog. The dog went and ate it. The owner walked away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the dog looked around. He ain't here. He went over, pulled the drawer open, got himself. He ate. No, the owner, I think, was trying to test the dog to see if he would leave it.
Mm-hmm.
So what the dog did was, when the owner had left, he ate the nibble that was on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Then went over to the drawer, pulled it open, got out another nibble and put it on the table. And when the owner came back, there was a nibble on there, and there was a difference in the two nibbles, but the owner didn't see that. All he saw was that the dog didn't touch it. It was so funny. But like I said, I think it was on TikTok. I don't know, because I got it from somebody.
On TikTok.
Huh?
I said they have a lot of good stuff on TikTok. And that's why this is saying it is a final healing. Because when I realized that even though I have made a mistake that mistake, although it might have negative consequences, but those consequences don't necessarily met out as punishment.
Exactly.
I'm not being punished because, oh my gosh, you know, I did something, and we often have an idea that punishment is always bad,
Right.
where punishment is not always, it's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to be seen as bad or as negative. It can just simply be seen as, this is a, what do you call it, when recalibration, we're getting from, is the situation is being recalibrated, or so it can get back to even. And instead of us seeing punishment as something that needs to be meted out, if we saw it as something that is where we are, we're out of alignment and now we're coming back into alignment, then we wouldn't see punishment as bad. But
We talking about punishment. I looked at the Revealing Word, Charles Fillmore,
mm-hmm.
and he describes punishment as man does not, what he says, man does not receive punishment from an outside force. Man punishes himself by holding false thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
He escapes from punishment as soon as he aligns his thought with that of God. So
mm-hmm.
what that is telling me is basically what you just said.
Mm-hmm. And because we have believed and been taught that we are separated from God, and that God, sometimes God will speak to you, sometimes he won't. It's hard to hear, it's hard to understand. It's all of this difficulty that's wrapped up in it. We don't, we can't see that that the divine is in us always. And we can trust that divine, and it's in each and every one of us. And each and every one of us has the opportunity is not the right word, but it's the only word that I can think of right now. each and every one of us has the opportunity to build and be a part of that oneness without judgment. And when I say judgment, that I don't have to judge myself here. I don't have to say that, okay, yeah, I did, yeah, I ate all of the cookies out of the cookie jar and I can't replace them at the moment, and I'm going to put on 5 pounds, and all of these things that I'm thinking of as punishment, if I can just simply receive the part that, okay, well, wow, I ate all the cookies.
Right.
I'm so glad I had cookies.
They were good.
Yeah, and if I just reshift and rechange and understand that I don't have to be committed to a negative outcome. And I think that that's usually what happens, is that we think that we become committed to a negative outcome. And and I was thinking about this just the other day. When we did, I think I heard somebody say, that we're better than the worst day of our life. If we have done something that is so horrific, that that's how we have become defined as that person. Everybody who sees us, that's the main thing that they're going to think about when they see us. And we are better than that, but we still have to accept that appearance, because that was something that happened in our past. We can move on from it. We can grow through it. We can grow because of it, but it's still there. And if anyone doesn't choose to see past that, that's not
your problem.
and it's not
problem.
and it's not a part of my it's not a part of my punishment. It's not my punishment.
Right.
You know. And so I don't deserve that, you know, and this is what, you know, this is a, however you may think that punishment is deserved, you know. Now, you know, it might be that, you know, yeah, you know, if I keep eating all the cookies, if I keep eating all the cookies without doing any kind of exercise or any type, you know, putting in some vegetables or drinking water or, you know, you know, of course, those, you know, the consequences of eating all those cookies, that looks like punishment. And it looks like I deserve it because I've been sitting around eating up all the cookies all the time. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's who I am now.
Right. It's how do I want to put it? Are you getting an echo?
No.
Huh?
No.
Because I am on my end. And now I forgot what I was going to say. I think what happens.
But
this echo is driving me nuts.
Oh, you have an echo. You want to pause and come back, and you want to see if that will work? Because I'm not getting anything.
Oh. I forgot now what I was going to say.
That's why I said, do you want me to pause the recording?
Yeah, pause it for a second, see what happens.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, you had paused it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We were on what, number 3?
Number 3, yeah. We were still talking about punishment.
Yeah.
And how we thought that punishment, that we might think that punishment is deserved.
If we think of it more as using your example of eating all the cookies, think of it more not so much as a punishment, but as a consequence of overindulgence. I mean, you know, if you,
yeah, and eventually, you know, once we stop judging that, and that's what the last judgment is once we get to this part of, you know, I don't even have to judge this consequence. You know, I don't have to judge this action because all of it's good.
Right. Right. And if you're hungry and it's meal time and you're not close to where you can actually sit down and have a balanced meal, then eating all them cookies was kind of a satisfying of the appetite for that particular moment in time. You know,
and of course, you know, there's a whole spectrum of, you know, desires. Exactly. So, you know, so there's a whole spectrum of what we think that, you know, what punishment should or should not be. But because I think that, you know, we have lived by connotations rather than by denotations. and then, we go by, what this age has thought of as the word. Now, the word has moved from another to a whole nother generation, or to a whole nother continent, or a whole nother culture. And we still want to act as if it's the same thing that it was once upon a time ago. But when we begin to understand that, as we shift our perceptions and we see only our holiness, then we will live only in our holiness.
Now, is that WHOL or HOL?
I think it's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same thing, because I mean, when you are holy, you are filled with the wholeness of the divine. We have been taught, or we think that it is an outward appearance, but it's really an inward action, as opposed to, you walk stately, or you have a halo or something like that, you gently touch children, or whatever you think a holy person looks like. If we get past that, the only reason we look like that is because that's what's on the inside. So what's on the inside is gonna show what's on the outside.
Reflected, yes.
Yeah. Let's see. Number 4 is punishment is a concept totally opposed to right-mindedness. And the aim of the last judgment is to restore right-mindedness to you. And that is so much of a challenge,
to see
right-mindedness restored to us.
Right.
That restoration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is one of the last things that we let go of, is our ability to hate ourselves. And that's when we get to this part where we are, because that's what punishment does. It teaches us that we're not worthy. We're useless. We're separated. We are not to be trusted. We are not loving or unlovable. So all of these are concepts that are not true.
And that all stems from us listening to and believing what others tell us instead of going within and listening to what the Christ within us tells us.
Yeah. And it is, that in itself is a challenge, because what does that even mean? The Christ within us tells us, if we have never had a concept of what our conscience is, because our conscience speaks to us all the time. It's constant,
It's so true.
So, is that our Christ self? What is, so we have to, when we are learning how to recalibrate, it's important that we, first of all, trust that good is in us. And the more we trust that, we would have to find out what does good even mean to us, you know? And is the good that we're thinking of, is that what good really is? I mean, you know, I was watching something on television. Maybe it was, it's cold outside. He need to put a shirt on. Ugh, goodness gracious. He done threw something up in the tree, girl. But anyway, I forgot what I was saying. So you go. You go. I don't even know what I was talking about.
I was so intent on what you were saying. Punishment is a concept totally opposed to right-mindedness.
Mm-hmm.
And the aim of the last judgment is to restore right-mindedness to you. One of the things that kind of crossed my mind, and it troubles me when I hear older people, or adults, I should say, tell a young child or feed negativity into the mind of a young child by saying, well, you're bad, or you're, in other words, feeding those negative concepts to that child. And that child will begin to believe that, first of all, children are vulnerable. They're like sponges, and anything that you say to them, anything that you tell them, they are trusting. They're going to believe what you say, and they're going to take it in, and it's going to be a part of their being. And if you continuously feed them concepts that they're not worthy, they're going to begin to believe it, and they're going to begin to be it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just annoys me when I hear adults say that. And I never will forget, there was a little girl, she was a feisty little something. And I would hear her grandmother scold her and tell her that she was bad. And to me, yes, what you did was bad, but you're still a good person. And I think we have to really be careful and think about what we say, and especially to young people, because if we're constantly feeding them the concept that they're no good, they're going to try their damnedest to be as bad as they can.
Mm-hmm.
And if we give them more attention when they act in negative ways, they're going to continuously act in negative ways. But if we let them know, I don't like what you're doing, but I love you, you're a kind, wonderful person. It's just that sometimes you do things that are not so pleasing.
Right.
And I think we have to be, because that's where it all starts.
Yep. Yep.
It starts with what we teach and tell our children.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Come on back here. Come on back here. I'm sorry. He just ran. I thought I heard him go across the street. Yeah, he'd be all right, but I still like to keep my eye on him. But yeah, and And that's just the thing, because hurt people. You know, I'm sure that that's how that grandmother was raised, you know, and I think that she probably thinks that she came out all right. You know, so, you know, that's why we have to, when we are evaluating ourselves, we have to understand that how to learn how to love ourselves, because we have been given this list of rules, you know, the top 10, that this is what it's supposed to look like. You're supposed to be able to, you know, check all of these boxes. And once you check all of these boxes, then that's the thing that proves that you are a good person, as opposed to learning how to be comfortable and love ourselves. Me.
And when we learn to love ourselves, we can't help but love others.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say that again.
Okay. Now I said when we love ourselves, then we can't help but love others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because and to me, almost daily now, I'm beginning to better understand that whole idea that when you look at somebody in a certain way, you're seeing a mirror, you're looking at yourself in the mirror. And oftentimes, if what we see in another person that we don't like, we refuse to look at ourselves and see what can I do to make myself better, so that I can see the God in that individual.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, and it's
not easy.
It's not. It's not easy, and I don't want to, you know, put the blame on, you know, the world, because we have been raised this way. I think that as we come out of that concept that punishment is deserved, either, you know, from us or to someone else, that they deserve punishment. I was watching something, probably was on TikTok, because you know I watch a lot of TikTok. But anyway, it was there was this person that was saying, you know, they were saying that, you know, I don't know, somebody was, you know, they couldn't wait till, you know, they hoped they could see Judgment Day, when, you know, God was going to send this person to hell, and, you know, this person was so bad, and they deserve to go to hell, and they, you know, they said that they would, you know, stand and applaud and clap, you know, when we're seeing someone else's demise. How can we find joy in that? If we're and I think that we're kind of taught that, because I do remember, you know, being in, you know, catechism, and, you know, as a child, and the questions came up, like, what do you do? How, you know, if I'm in heaven and I'm the only one in heaven, how am I supposed to feel if the rest of my family isn't in heaven? You know, if the rest of my family is in hell and I'm in heaven, how am I supposed to feel? And I do remember being taught that all of that would be forgotten. We wouldn't even see, we would forget that we had mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers, and we would forget all of them, and we wouldn't remember them. And so we shouldn't feel bad. We should not feel bad, because of all of that will be erased from our memory. Well, I mean, that was that was always the ending statement. you know, but when the nun said something that, you know, that was the conclusion. So you don't keep going back and forth, but when you think about it, but, you know, I'm supposed to, you know, just be satisfied with that. I used to have a mom that I loved, that, but, you know, but mama and daddy gone to hell, you know, because, you know, for whatever reason, and I'm supposed to be comfortable with that. You know, when you hear stuff like that, when you hear explanations like that, so that, you know, you can get on to the next chapter, to the next page, to the next thought. You know, that's nothing, like I said, you know, that was something that was brought up like when I was in second grade. I'm 65, and those thoughts still come to me. So, you know, things
But
don't.
you know better now.
I knew better then. I knew better then. It didn't make it. That didn't make sense then, you know.
Right,
But
right.
but you know, those thoughts stay with you, and you do build a consciousness around those thoughts, whether they're positive or whether they're negative. And a belief in your own belief system comes up from that. So, you know, so now I think it is okay for me to be thinking that, yes, these people caused this thing throughout history and they deserve to go to hell. You know, this type of, but that's
okay.
what I'm.
No, what I was going to say is, when Jesus was on the cross, remember there were two thieves on either side of him.
Mm-hmm.
And one said, now this is somebody that has lived a life of what would have been classified as sinful.
Mm-hmm.
And that individual, that person said to Jesus, remember me when you come. I forget now exactly, you know, what the phrase is, but he asked for forgiveness and he was forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it boils down to. So no matter what, if you come to that point where you're going to cross over and you don't want to go to where destiny says you should go because of what you did, and you ask forgiveness, you ain't going down that deep hole, that hellhole.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because now we understand that punishment is a concept totally opposed to right-mindedness.
Exactly.
You know, we are, you know, when you are in your right mind, there is no need for any thoughts of punishment. And that's and when it says, and the aim of the last judgment is to restore right-mindedness to you. So and that in itself is a really beautiful concept, because right-mindedness is restored to you. So that means that it was there in the first place. You
exactly.
know? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It was there all the time. You just didn't want to acknowledge it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see, number 5 says, the last judgment might be called a process of right evaluation. And that's what we've been learning here, this whole section of the last judgment, is that it is, you know, for us to evaluate the good, you know, and to see if it is still good at the time for us. Because what was good to me or good for me 5 years ago might not necessarily be the same type of good for me now. It still might be good for me, but you know, if I'm using it in a newer perspective, it's, you know, it's still good, but it's not what used to be good.
Exactly.
if
exactly.
that made sense. I know that,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
it did.
and I think, and I do think that, I like that it's a process. The last judgment might be called a process of right evaluation, because, just because I heard it and I've been tested on it and I got an A on the test, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's all that there is. I don't have to grow past this. This is the thing, this is the right answer. But when I see it as a process that, is always unfolding, it's always continuing, it's always new. Okay, so what are your thoughts on that sentence?
No, I was just going to say it's a process of growth.
Mm-hmm.
It's like baby stepping, um, or just take the progression. Think about school. I mean, you start off in the first grade, you learn how to read, you learn how to form the letters, you learn how to put them together to make a word, you learn how to write a sentence, a complete sentence, learn the parts of a sentence. And I mean, these are all steps, it's a process. And then by the time you finish high school, you're able to sit down and write a paper or whatever that is thought provoking. Uh, and the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And the better you are at communicating whatever it is you're communicating, your thoughts and your ideas or your concepts, so that people can understand them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the same thing. It's a process. You go through it step by step by step, and you build on what you have learned. It's like you just said a few minutes ago. What was good, what was important and good 5 years ago, it's still good, it's still important, but not as important because something has taken its place, or you have
Mm-hmm.
grown, so to
Right.
speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And and I am looking forward to this, and does it, is it ever completed? I don't know. I mean,
I
do you
don't think
finish,
so.
the last judgment? Do you get to that point where, yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. Because, I can't imagine that, you know, that I could stay in a frame of doubt, a frame of mind of doubt, when I have achieved a lot of awareness.
And I think that the whole idea of the last judgment, because I think spiritually, I don't think there is a last judgment. When we think of this, our spiritual self, but when we think
Mhm.
about the
like
physical
like
self,
like that Christian, like that Christian concept, whether you go to heaven or you go to hell. Is that what you're talking about? That
yeah,
last judgment?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
th- I think that last judgment has more to do with the physical being, more so than with our spiritual self.
Mm-hmm.
That,
Yeah.
that
And to
that's
me, it
just my
seems more mental.
that's just my thoughts on it.
To me, it seems more mental and emotional.
Hmm.
hmm When we, because everything, to me, judgment is in the mind.
Right. Yeah.
Even if I'm judging somebody else, I think this thing about that person. You know, so it's And I think that, and I think that's, you know, why it says, you know, we get restored to right-mindedness, because it, you know, I think it does start in the mind, our sense of, you know, evaluation of who we are.
Exactly. And haven't we learned that everything, no matter what it is, and even the great books, such as the Bible, the Quran, give you or they tell you that it all starts in the mind, with the thoughts that are in your mind.
Yeah. Yep.
So, like you said, it's all mental.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It has to be mental before it is manifested.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Yes. Mm-hmm. And there will come you know, I do believe there will come a time where we don't have to use that type of evaluation. Even when you think about, you know, Jesus in the garden, you know, that was his, you know, we don't know how long he was in the garden overnight, you know, but it wasn't that long. You know, he had that time of doubt, but he quickly adjusted to right-mindedness. You know, he quickly adjusted out of fear, you know.
Right.
But,
You mean
you know,
when he's asking to have the cup passed from him?
right. Yeah. He
And
didn't
but
add.
then
Go
yeah,
ahead.
he said, if it is your will, let this cup pass. Or I'm not saying it right, but you know,
Yeah.
that's what you're getting at. That
Yeah.
I'm asking. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that was the moment of doubt. That was that moment of fear that he had, you know.
Exactly.
So,
And it
but
just shows his humanity.
but it shows the quickness of that he wasn't stuck there.
Right.
You know, it didn't
Right.
last. I mean, you know, he didn't run ahead to the hills, you know, and stay there for the next 12 years trying to figure it out. You know,
Right.
he you know, when we do have that part of that last judgment, where we are no longer affected by fears or doubts or any form of negativity. We can move through the thing into something great, you know. You know, the Christian tradition says that because of that, because he moved through that, look what, look what happened. Yeah, we got caught up into, that he got beat 40 times and got beat up and all and got crucified. That gets caught up. But the main thing is the resurrection. That's the big deal. That's the thing that really happened, that pushed through, is the thing that, yeah, it looked really, really bad for a minute there. It didn't look good, didn't look like this was the right choice to do. But look what happened once you push through that, all of that, I don't know, environment, maybe that's the right word. When you push through all of that, yeah, I guess when you push through that environment and you move to a whole nother higher plane of consciousness, and that consciousness now becomes your reality, because the reality that we see, from Jesus, is that he rose from the dead. That's
Right.
the reality that we see, that death did not stop.
That's right.
Physical death did not stop. So he rose from the dead from that, in that process. So once we learn how to properly evaluate all of our fears, all of our doubts, all of our I don't know, maybe disadvantages, that's on the, you know, all of our negative thoughts. When we get to that point, we don't have to rethink it and reevaluate it. Now we're there. You know, we've learned the lesson, we've passed the tests. Hello?
I'm here. I was just thinking about what you were saying. And you're right. You're absolutely right, because I'm looking at that last judgment might be called a process of right evaluation. And I guess my thing is, and I guess it's probably one of those things that you just have a feeling, you just know. When you're on the right path.
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm.
It's and I think our experiences as we travel this earth will in some way show us, you know, the difference between what is good, what is not good, what is right and just. And we'll know it because if we pay attention to, like when you go into a meditation, for me, I start off with that count. I call it a countdown, and I count down, and I just pay attention, or I focus my attention on what am I feeling in this particular part of my physical being. And when you get that, for lack of a better phrase, that warm and fuzzy feeling, feel good feeling, you know that everything is okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
mm-hmm.
And to me that I guess would encompass that process of right evaluation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You want to read number 6? Because it's 6:18. I can't believe that.
Oh, wow.
Time really went by fast.
It sure did. Hold on. Oh. Oh, man. Let me see. Number 6.
Mm-hmm.
It simply means that everyone will finally come to understand what is worthy and what is not.
Mm-hmm.
It simply means that everyone will finally come to understand what is worthy and what is not.
Yeah. So
And
we
that,
do reach it together then, right?
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that, um, and again, we know, um, because somewhere our conscious mind, our subconscious mind is going to let us know
Mm-hmm.
as to what is and what is not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we have, again, we'll have that feeling or that tingle or whatever that will let us know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And me personally, I do believe that that is what we are coming to, where everyone will finally come to understand that. And I think that that's probably what, people were trying to do. They were trying to make that, one world religion, that, conquer people and say that this is what the truth is, and think like us, or, because they were trying to get to that point where everybody believes what is, everybody believes the same, because everybody has finally come there. But getting there on your own and being forced are two completely different things.
That is
So,
so true.
well, I was just gonna say, yeah. So if I'm forced into it and it looks like I'm doing it, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's truth. But me personally, I do believe that humanity is coming to that point where we are all going to understand what is worthy and what is not. So is that the final judgment? Because that does goes right, kind of right, takes us back up to the first sentence. The last judgment is generally thought of as a procedure undertaken by God. So is that it when we get to that place of critical mass where everybody is everybody is in that same mindset? So that's the thing, that it looks as if it has come from the outside, simply because it is now time for it to happen. So but that's just me. That's me in my own personal little rabbit hole. So we don't have to stay there long, because it's already 6:22. So let's not go down my rabbit hole.
Oh,
So let's read 7 and 8 together.
okay.
After this, the ability to choose can be directed rationally. Okay, so that's what this is saying. 7 is saying what number 6 is saying. Once 6 happens and everybody finally will come to understand what is worthy and not, after this, the ability to choose can be directed rationally. Because then
We're all on the same
we're all
mindset.
in the
We're
same,
all the same mindset.
we're all of the same mindset, and it's rational. I can direct you rationally. Like, I don't have to steal your children and beat them into submission to say that this is who you love. Because because that's irrational. But it can be directed rationally, because now we can come together and understand what true love really is.
Mhm.
8 says, until this distinction is made, however, the vacillations between free and imprisoned will cannot but continue. And yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because we do go between, until we can get to that point where we know the truth, and
Right.
you know,
Where
there's
we eliminate that either or.
right, because we don't have to. We're no longer vacillating. You know, I only know this story. You know, I really haven't studied Buddhism, but there's a couple of, you know, stories that, you know, I know about it, and I think that, you know, are kind of like the big ones. Is that when he, you know, he had been trying all of these different things to find enlightenment, and he just decided one day, you know what, I'm gonna sit under this tree, and if it takes me for the rest of my life, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it. You know,
Mhm.
so that distinction was made right then, and he no longer vacillated. And you know, so they said he was under that tree for a year. Golly, I mean, can you imagine just sitting under a tree, you know, for any amount of time to get to this point where I'm not vacillating anymore. I am right at this truth right here, and I don't and it doesn't matter whether I'm sitting here under the tree or
Right.
whether I'm, you know, walking on a rainbow bridge, you know, all of it's the same thing. I'm no longer, I am really free now. And I think that it probably will happen. It probably happens individually
Mhm.
until it gets to that point where it is, you know, everybody all at once.
And I have for a long time believed that each one of us will individually experience, I guess you can say, the last judgment. Our own, we each experience our own last judgment.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're going to experience our own, and then we're going to experience that big one. I do. I mean,
Right.
me personally, I think it will be big.
As a
Yeah,
whole,
as
as
a
a
whole.
unit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now, whether it will happen in a lifetime, say, you know, the year 2533, you know, or whether it happens in, you know, you know, 1,000 years of God time, you know,
Right.
I don't know how that will occur, you know. But
It's
then
not
again,
for us to know either.
yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say, you know. I don't have to know that.
Do you really want to?
No, I really don't.
And well,
I really don't. Yeah.
yeah, because I feel the same way. What happens, happens.
Yeah, 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 you know. And but the blessing is that, you know, I think that all of the, you know, most philosophies or religions have some type of apocryphal information, you know, description. All of them talks about the end, you know, all as from what I know, from what I have thought about, or from what I know, all of them talks about an end, you
Right.
know.
Yes.
But you know, the end does not have to, you know, the end does not have to, the end does not mean, you know, finality, you know.
Right.
And I think that that's what we have when we see words like last, we think that nothing comes after last, you know. But when we get past our what semantics, and we understand that this word is all that it is in this moment, and
Right.
I don't have to hold on to it. It doesn't have to evoke any type of emotion, any type of fear, any type of doubt, any type of reasoning. It can just simply be a word.
And when you say last, it's just the end of this part. but it is also the beginning
Right.
of another stage.
Mhm.
Just think about what happens when you have completed the 12th grade of high school.
Mhm.
What is that ceremony called? Commencement. And
Mhm.
commence means to begin.
Right. Mhm.
So it's the end, but it is also the beginning.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, it's 6:30. I don't. We didn't even get to
Whoa.
yeah, we didn't even get to the other thing, but we did. You know, I was up and down because I had a whole lot going on here at my house. Do we want to take a look at the um manual for teachers?
Um,
'Cause
I
I didn't read it today.
I
I
didn't
didn't.
neither did I.
Yeah, I didn't.
Let's save it for the next time.
Okay. Well, I just want to see what it look like. How is healing accomplished? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Perceived purpose. The perceived purpose of sickness. Yeah, that looked deep. But that kind of goes along with what we were just talking about, because when we are perceiving sickness, let's see how long. Oh, it's only 2 paragraphs. Let's look at it real quick. Healing is accomplished the instant the sufferer no longer sees value in pain. Yeah, yeah, we probably need to wait till next week because this is gonna be pretty deep.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So next week can we start with this?
we can. Yeah.
Yeah, let's start with this next week because this really ties into what we were just talking about with perception. Because when we think of the last judgment as sickness, and our perception, then it there's a purpose to, we can, our perceived purpose of sickness. If I'm seeing myself, if I'm seeing last and I have all of this fear about what the last means to me, you know, there's a purpose in that. And that's, so yeah. So if we can, let's start with this next week and tie this into what we talked about today.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan.
And then I'm pretty sure, because it's only 2 paragraphs, and I'm sure that when we go back to, but is that going to slow us down? Is that going to, it doesn't matter. We don't have to move fast anyhow. What are we talking about? Like we moving fast on anything. Text. Oh, here it is. Separation, yeah. Meaning of the last judgment. I just want to look at this last paragraph here. Paragraph 4. Oh yeah, paragraph 4 is short too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's do it like that. And then if we read it first, we can talk about 3, and then we could add 4 to it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that was a really good session. So what did you get from today's session, and how can you apply it to your life?
I think the main thing for me, let me just kind of skim over this. For me, the main thing is that when we think of the last judgment, we shouldn't think of punishment, but more or less having an understanding of where we are and what it is that we're here to accomplish, and not so much think about what am I trying to say? Not think so much about the consequences of what we do, but just think about our purpose in being here and in trying to make each day better than the day before, and to I guess how do I want to put it? To try and make each day better than the day before, and to embrace and love all of our sisters and brothers, no matter without harsh judgment, I guess is the best way I can put it.
Well, thank you. And for me, what I got from the class today is really about punishment, because I used to beat myself up so much. You know, I found so much wrong with me, but over these last couple of years, I have been letting go of that, and I rarely now punish myself. I still do, but it's nowhere near as severe, and it's not as lengthy, you know. Right. So
and how do you feel?
I feel much better. I feel lighter. I feel more confident. I feel more energized, actually. You know, I have a lot of peace.
Right.
And I have and I, you know, so I do feel there is a feeling attached to it. I'm glad you asked me how did I feel, because there is a feeling attached to that. I do feel more peaceful. I do feel more confident. I do feel more truthful, more authentic is the better word. I feel more authentic. Right. And yeah, and I am confident that one day, you know, I won't criticize myself at all. I won't I won't, you know, that will be a time where that was the last time.
Right. Right.
You know,
yeah.
and it doesn't happen anymore. And you know, there's a new habit, there's a change of habit, you know. So yeah, I do believe that, and that's what I got from this class, and that's what that's what I really want to work on, because right now in my life I really want to work on me. I really want me to become you know,
become the best Penelope that there ever was.
right, yeah. Or you know, or just to be who I am, you know, and to drop any facades or any made up anything or any doubts or any, you know, frustrations, just let them all go. And so, you know, since I am working toward fixing me right now, I know that that can't help but be better for everybody else. Exactly. Because if I'm my best self, if I'm my most authentic self, if I'm my most truthful and loving self, it can't help but better somebody else. Because at least I'm telling you the truth. You know, if nothing else, you know,
and for those that don't want to accept it, that's their loss.
And it might, yeah, if it is or if it ain't, you know, they get to be themselves too. They get to be themselves too. Yeah. So that's what I got from today's class. Okay, so let's see. Tomorrow we have in the morning, we have at 11 a.m. Forrest is coming on, and we will have our IM session. Also, let's see, at 7 to 8:30 tomorrow evening, we have the Book of Longings with Reverend Sakina. This Saturday is the 6th, and we're continuing our study in angels, and that's from 2 to 4. And that's going to be online on via Zoom. And so that'll be from 2 to 4. And on Sunday, we're going to have our first Tarot Expo. Yay, I'm so excited. And this is something I hope to have like every year. And it was, so since it was kind of like spur of the moment, and it's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be great.
Right. And we're gonna grow from it.
And it's going to grow from it, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. But but since I decided that I think that this would be a fun thing to do every year, have this on a yearly basis. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be in May, but I think that this will be a fun thing to look forward to happening every year on a yearly. Yep. Yeah. And so that's pretty much it for what's going to be. Oh, and that's going to be here at my home. So that's going to be here at my home. So unless I can figure out how to do it, which I probably am not going to look into, we won't be, it won't be telecast. I mean, it won't be on video, because it's going to be here at my house. So, and that's pretty much it for our announcements for the Inner Haven commercial. Inner Haven.
Subscribe, like, and comment.
Thank you, Harriet. Would you like to close us out in prayer?
Sit back.
Hello?
I'm here.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Oh. Okay, I'll start over.
Yeah.
Let us take in a full, deep, cleansing breath. And exhale all of the negativity that might be invading these bodies. Let us sit tall with our feet firmly planted on the floor or the ground or wherever we are. And let the energy of Mother Earth connect us, that silver cord connecting us to the divine consciousness of ourselves. And as we end this session on A Course in Miracles, let us be grateful for the time that we've spent together. Let us take this knowledge and use it wisely to help make this world a better place, not only within our homes, but within our communities, within our nation, within the world, and with the universe. And let us spread the joy and love that we feel within our hearts. With that, I say, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was really special. All right. That's it,
Okay.
everybody. Love you. Bye.
Love you all. Bye.
Oh, I pressed stop share instead of stop recording. Bye. Hey.